Chapter 22, page 246. Her words haunted me. Was it true? Was I really so blind where Noah was concerned? Okay, he'd gotten better. I'd never said he hadn't. For sure, he wasn't falling all over the place anymore. His posture was straighter, his balance was decent, and there was a level of confidence in his movements. Was he as good as Vanessa and the others believed, and I was too biased against him to see it? It was impossible to tell. I didn't watch him on the sidelines, mostly because I wanted to pretend he wasn't there. So you couldn't go by me. But you couldn't go by the others either. They were such Super Kid fans that they thought everything he did was perfection. I needed an impartial judge, but who? My eyes found Noah in the swirling festivity. He's reaching down from his perch on everybody's shoulders to high-five Katie Patterson in the first row of the bleachers. On closer examination, I saw that it wasn't Katie's palm he was slapping. It was the tiny hand of a very young baby in Katie's arms. It hit me. Katie was Noah's private cheer coach. However much he improved, it was thanks to her. She had a better sense of Noah's true ability level than anybody. Could I trust her opinion? As his teacher, maybe she wouldn't be impartial. One thing settled it for me. Katie was a fellow cheerleader, a fellow head cheerleader. Sure, she was an adult now, but once you carried those pom-poms, it was like sisterhood. I didn't know where she lived, but Donovan was in the school directory. He'd tell me where to find her. It was Saturday morning at 1 o'clock. The entire town of Hardcastle would be squeezed into our cafeteria to watch Governor Holland hanging a medal around Noah's penciled neck. At 10:30, though, the day looked totally normal. Nice even. Sunny, not too hot. Cheerleaders lived for weather like this, where you could run up and down the sidelines without freezing in your miniskirt or sweating into your makeup. 3 cheers for Mother Nature. But there was no game today. My mission began at the Curtis house, so Donovan could point me in the direction of his sister Katie, the klutz whisperer. She was the magician who had supposedly made cheerleader out of the clumsiest dolt to ever hop, skip, and faceplant across the sports field. I rang the bell at Donovan's address. From inside, I heard a couple of dogs barking. Finally, the door opened, and I was startled when Katie herself appeared. She looked kind of frazzled, holding a pacifier in her baby's mouth. Yesterday, I hadn't realized how young the kid was, a newborn practically. "You live here?" I blurted. She nodded, "Temporarily, till my husband gets a long-term assignment. Megan, right?" "Right," I said, thrilled to be recognized by my one-time hero. She sized me up. "Are you looking for Donnie? He had to go to the academy." "For scholastic distinction?" I finished in amazement. That didn't fit the picture of Donovan I had. You know, the kind of idiot who dive-bomb a pool party from a tree. She grinned. "Yeah, it doesn't sound much like my brother, but he's on the robotics team. The eggheads are doing a demonstration for the governor today, and they're working the last-minute bugs out." "You're the one I actually need to talk to," I told her. She invited me in. We sat on the couch. The house wasn't a mess exactly, but there was a bassinet in the middle of the living room, an infant swing on the floor, and dog toys scattered everywhere. On the wall was a portrait of Katie in a beautiful white wedding dress and a tall, very good-looking guy in the military uniform, and a smaller picture of a much younger Donovan as a little leaguer. The look on his face seemed to say, I could think of a lot of good uses for this hat, and hitting a baseball's one of them. I'd seen that expression on his face more than once. "You've been coaching Noah, right?" I began. "Donnie told me he was a hopeless cheerleader," Katie explained, "so I thought maybe I could help him, but it was a lost cause. No, he's gotten better," it hurt to say, but I was never going to get to the bottom of this if I couldn't be honest with myself. "Some of the girls think he's as good as anybody on the squad." "It wasn't me," Katie admitted. "I couldn't do anything with Noah. That's when my husband took over." "Your husband's a cheerleader?" She shook her head. "He's a tank commander in the Marines. They don't do cheerleading. They march for miles with heavy packs. That's where he and Noah have been doing. It's like boot camp around the place. Push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, tire flips, you name it." I was blown away. "And it works?" "It must," she replied, "because he was a total loss when I tried to work at him." Katie stopped chewing on the playpen. She was scrolling the weirdest puppy I'd ever seen. Light brown with a bushy tail and giant feet that looked like they belonged on a grizzly bear. "Boot camp," I repeated. "How would that do anything?" Katie shrugged. "Don't ask me, ask Brad. He believes Marine training's the answer to all the world's problems." "Candy, stop!" "Kandahar!" My heart snapped. "Kandahar? The dog's name is Kandahar?" Katie shook. "That's where Brad was stationed in Afghanistan." My mind traveled back to when the pool guy had pulled the dog toy out of the filter, purple plastic, dumbbell shaped, and the name written across it. It wasn't like Fido or Poochie. How many Kandahars could there be in a town the size of Hardcastle? How had this puppy's toy ended up in my pool? Candy chews on everything these days. Katie was explaining: shoes, carpet, furniture. He's not fussy. He used to have a Bow Wow bone he loved, but we managed to lose it somewhere. It was like being struck by lightning. In that electrified instant, I knew exactly who lost the Bow Wow bone, exactly where and how. Donovan had lost it in my pool while climbing out of the propane trunk that he, and not Noah, had steered away from my house. Noah wasn't the super kid. It had been Donovan all along. How could I have missed it? Noah was the last person in the galaxy who'd ever jump into a moving truck. Not only was he physically incapable of it, it would never even have crossed his mind to try. My eyes returned to the photograph of Donovan the Little Leaguer, brandishing the bat with unholy glee. That with the face of someone who'd be crazy enough to throw himself at tons of runaway propane, without even thinking about the worst-case scenario. I pictured him dropping from the sky into the middle of my pool party. He was exactly the right kind of reckless idiot, and I remembered what happened a few seconds after that. The same Donovan tackling Peter out of the way of the falling tree branch. He wasn't the hero type, not even close, but deep down, hidden beneath his many faults, he'd always had that heroic streak. It'd been staring at me in the face all this time. Donovan had saved my family. It was a hard thing to wrap my mind around, mostly because I had to unwrap my mind around the idea that Noah did it. I had to come to terms with it. I owed my home and family to Donovan the doofus. Not even a doofus. He was just sort of nobody. Not an athlete, not a genius, not a ladies' man, not a student council type. It was like being indebted to a filing cabinet or the flagpole in front of the school. Only what filing cabinet ever risked his life to protect a house full of sleeping people? I was suddenly overcome with a wave of gratitude towards Donovan. For the first time, I felt like there was really a super kid in Hardcastle. "Are you okay?" Katie asked in concern. "You've gone all pale." "I'm fine." I got up and headed for the door, nearly tripping over Kandahar. I realized I just have to be, somewhere. "Will I see you at the governor's ceremony later?" she called after me. "I think the whole town's going to be there to cheer for Noah." "For sure," I managed. "I can't wait to see Noah get what's coming to him."